My name is B.S. Bairwa. I am working in Central Electricity Authority and handling the works of cross-border electricity trade and power system planning of eastern and northeastern region of India. So in this discussion, we will further discuss that today our thrust is on renewable energy for sustainable development. So our interconnections with the neighboring countries and our one of very big initiative that is also one sun, one world, one grid. That initiative we will also discuss that in this initiative what we are taking up with our other countries. So I think during discussion we will be discussing more. Thank you.
Dr. Beda.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Joram Beda, and I'm Commissioner and Secretary to the Government of Meghalaya. And for this particular panel discussion, the departments that are relevant, which I think I should mention, is Soil and Water Conservation and the Meghalaya New and Renewable Development Agency. And also I am with the Planning and Investment Promotion Department. So that also is relevant to this panel discussion. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siddharth Vashisth, and I'm representing Chempolis, which is a Finnish company. It is an associate company of Fortum, which is a Finnish utility company in producing one of the largest CO2 producing one of the largest producers of CO2-free electricity in Europe. And Chempolis is into biorefining, and we are in Northeast for quite some time now. We are setting up one biorefinery based on bamboo as a feedstock, and we are doing it in a joint venture with Numaligarh Refineries Limited in Numaligarh. We have great plans for the regions. We have started exploring more and more projects, again based on bamboo and other feedstock available in the region. We are in talks with the state utility company, and we are exploring feasibility of another project in Bongaigaon, Assam. So we'll be talking more about what our technology and how has been our experience. And the thought about sustainability which I wanted to leave was, when we talk about sustainability, energy, there's abundant energy available. When you talk about solar and wind, they are at a stage where they are commercially ready. They just need to be, the plants are very much doable day in, day out. But when we talk about materials, they are not so abundant as energy. So the bio-based materials should be taken as one of the key focus areas of sustainability, because which can replace fossil-based materials. So that is one thought I would like this panel to take along.
Thank you. Moving on to our digital participants, may I invite Mr. Fazlul Haq to share a quick word of introduction and thought. Do we have him online? I don't think he's joined. Ms. Anasua, Basu? May I invite you for a quick word of introduction?
Yeah.
I think you're on mute, ma'am. Yeah.
Can you? Okay. Thank you so much, Chair. And it's my pleasure to take part in this discussion. I think I'm representing one of the lead think tank of India, which is Observer Research Foundation, and I am from Kolkata chapter. I am the lead senior researcher working on neighborhood studies. And I think in this panel discussion, I would like to flag some points on disaster risk reduction and management, and how community can play important role in across border initiatives on these particular segments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. So moving on to the first question of the panel. We have been talking about these twin revolutions, right? So sustainability, transition, and digital transition. So riding the wave of these two transitions, what are the tangible connectivity projects do you think we can actually start working on in the northeastern region? Starting with you, sir.
As I said, first of all, we need to understand the need of this area, northeast area. If you look at it, if you just go the spectrum of all northeastern states, development is something which is lacking, and what we see, the connectivity from the road mobility point of view is not there. Employment is also very limited. So to encourage this, what we have to do is, first of all, infrastructure which is required needs to be done. But if I talk about the company which I represent, as I said again in the beginning of my discussion, energy is very important part of any development. I mean, if you don't have energy, if you have super highways, but if you don't have any source of your own means of generation and having capacity to basically take care of your people within the state, it becomes very difficult to then rely something which is coming from outside. But what I would rather look at it, the digital transition in fact has happened in this state, and in fact in our company very well. So if you want to basically strengthen the northeastern region, you need to basically talk about very specific area where the developments can happen, and this can be then integrated, I would say, effort by donor or whosoever is driving this side of development. They can take that initiative, and I'm in already discussion with couple of states where we think that the energy sustainability and security is must. And without that, it becomes a situation, unfortunately, what we are seeing in Meghalaya. Sorry, sir, this is a bad time in Meghalaya, where we had a reliance on a particular source of energy, and that is now dwindling because of climate change, because of a lot of things which is happening. So let's have something which is climate sustainable, which is also carbon neutral, and which basically provides employment to the community. So what we have to do, not just a concentrated effort, or I would say source of energy at one point and then push it into the states, but we should have something very near to the community. Something I could correlate it, I shouldn't say a microgrid, but something which is, say a district level sort of, or a few district level together sort of approach. So that what will happen, despite having hilly terrain, most of the northeastern is enriched in hilly terrain and forest, and it's very difficult to find suitable land. So I think having these small sort of pockets of energy, which are again climate neutral, should be the idea.
So to paraphrase you, you're talking about decentralized microgrids.
Exactly.
Power generation.
Exactly, ma'am.
Right?
Yeah.
And what kind of power, primary source of power?
So it will be mixed. As I said, there is always opportunities available to look at it. Renewable, we have impetus on renewable. So renewable should be the primary source of generation, but we simply can't rely on renewable forever. You have to have something which is also a balancing act between renewable and something which is, say, not really fossil, but something which is in between. We have to look at it. So as we are also, as a country, we are transiting. We started with, I would say, 0% renewable composition in the country to almost about 25%, and our ambition is to go up to 50%, and certainly beyond that. While having said this ambition of higher renewable, we have to also see how we can basically absorb this renewable, because deploying renewable is one act, kind of a capex. You can do a capex, but then ultimately the benefit of that renewable will only come when you absorb that. It should not go into curtailment route. I would rather suggest that let's not go into a route where we put a lot of renewable and then we are not able to absorb that. We are not able to transmit that. So something, I think, we have to look at it very carefully.
Yeah. So just breaking the sequence, because you raised a very important point, may I ask Dr. Beda, so what are your views on both these aspects, so decentralized power grids as well as downstream absorption of renewable?
A very pertinent point you have raised. Uh, well, you're very correct. You are bang on the point so far as the off-grid uh, solar technology that you are talking about. Uh, well, that is something which Government of India, when they are also conceptualizing or framing a particular scheme, they do not take these things into consideration. Uh, the habitations in most of the northeastern and hilly states are uh, very vast and very sparse. And when we talk about a connectivity in the sense of a power grid connectivity, it becomes very difficult. So what you said very correctly, it's the solution is off grid, which are not connected with any of these grid connections. And the government of Meghalaya is also currently working in that direction. How to provide off-grid standalone power units, renewable energy power units to the households. And maybe you are aware, we are collaborating with many organizations, namely CELCO and GHE, and through which we have provided electricity to many of substantial number of about, I can say 90% of our primary health centers. And the cold chain, which requires constant electricity, this has been addressed. And not just addressed the power scenario, we have also tailored the machines, the equipments in such a way that they are in line with the solar technology. So just to, in a nutshell, this off-grid standalone power units, as you rightly pointed out, is the solution for the near future.
So just added to that, is there any other renewable technology you're considering other than solar?
See, that has been the million-dollar question. What are the alternative sources of energy? So the most abundant is sunlight. So naturally, it's the solar, renewable energy technology which we're talking about mostly. Wind, it's like a one-off game. Once in a while, in a season, you might have a very windy condition. But if you see overall throughout the year, it's not a very dependable kind of a source of energy. So currently, it's solar. Hydro, again, as he rightly pointed out, currently 99% of our electricity is hydroelectricity. So that way we meet the RPO trajectory. Good for us, we pat on our backs. But again, as he pointed out, we are at the receiving end of the climate change cataclysm. And this has, over the time, become a very, not a dependable source of electricity. When peak, we have abundant electricity and we are searching for, in the power grid, where to sell this power. And there are times during the lean season, we are buying more electricity from the power grid. So in the end, we end up being in debt. So that's the problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Coming back to you, Mr. Bairwa, would like to hear your thoughts on the question.
Yeah, so we are talking about energy transition and sustainability. So in India, if you can see that most of the solar and wind potential is towards western side and in extreme north side, that is Ladakh. So we have to take that power to our load centers. And we have hydro potential in much of the hydro potential in northeastern region, which is untapped. We have around 53 gigawatt of hydro potential, but presently around 2 gigawatt power plants are in operation. And around 5,000 gigawatts are under implementation. So still we have a huge potential of hydro in northeastern region. We know that solar is available only at daytime and wind is also not available regularly. So we need to combine solar, wind and hydro potential for sustainability. So we have to put lot of more transmission lines, connectivity lines, so that we can sustainable in future. Further, our neighbors, Nepal, Bhutan, they are also rich in hydro potential. So if we are connecting their grid also, then we can say that combining solar, wind and hydro will be beneficial for the entire region. And if you see the Bangladesh connectivity, Bangladesh is also highly dependent on fossil fuels. So interconnection with Bangladesh from our northeastern side and eastern side, this will be very, it will be future ready.
Coming back to one tangible outcome, because this panel is more focused on tangible projects that can be picked up. From your perspective, what are the immediate projects that can be picked up and worked upon?
Yeah, one of the project is connecting Bangladesh grid synchronously with Indian grid, and for that one line also has been identified. That is a high capacity 765 kV Katihar Parvatipur Bornagar line. The Katihar in eastern region, Parvatipur in Bangladesh, and then Bornagar in Assam, northeastern region. So that line will be useful to both the countries. Bangladesh can be synchronized. If synchronized, that their reliability will improve, and their grid will be connected from two sides. And they can get power if it is not available to our eastern side, they will get from northeastern side or vice versa. So I think this is the project which we can take up.
Thank you.
Just want to make a point. Since Mr. Bairwa is a very senior officer in Ministry of Power and he is currently in the CEA, I would like to make a point that when we talk about hydroelectricity potential, we should understand that is theoretical. Now that way, even Meghalaya has a significant potential. But you should understand that there are larger factors, bigger factors involving how to translate this potential into reality. Now our rivers here depend on rain and the spring sheds. Rain during the rainy season, spring sheds during the lean season. Now because of the anthropogenic activities in the ridge line, we are facing a very grave, dire situation in which significant number, there was one research by Institute of Natural Resource, and 40,000 springs are drying off or disappearing. Which means, imagine the situation in the near future. Unlike the rivers originating from Himalayan mountains, they are fed by the snow during lean season. So they are more of a reliable source of water, and the water volume is more or less assured even in the lean season. So hydroelectricity depending entirely on one is not the solution. I always will insist that we should diversify. We should diversify. And we have people from European Union here, and I would suggest to all the governments that research on nuclear fusion, not the fission. Fission is one of the worst kind of source of electricity. Fusion, we should really work upon. Many research centers are, they have demonstrated successful fusion, but the energy gain is zero. Rather, it's negative. So that way, it's not even a fuel for, in the physics parlance, it's not even a fuel as of now. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Beda. I would like to add here that I think very often we forget talking about energy storage solutions when you talk about renewable energy, because if we have technologically sound solutions working, then these variations in weather will not matter that much in harnessing natural sources of energy. Coming back to you, Mr. Vashisth. So can you tell us what tangible projects your company would be looking to work?
So when we are talking about twin transition, so I'll come more from a requirement point of view. When an industry like us, what we are trying to set up, wants to scale up, so we need to access the resources available. So when I'm setting up a plant, I am able to source the raw material from a specific area where digital connectivity is there, road connectivity is there, or energy connectivity is there. But if I have to scale up, 10 times, I need to reach out to the areas where the biomass or the feedstock is available. So that is where, and when we are talking about these off-grid and storage solutions, these would be the right solutions for even at a local level, where people who can provide us the biomass. So that is my thought.
Yeah, very pertinent point. Coming back to you, had a comment.
In fact, the storage part. So Wärtsilä is into, we are the OEM, we build power plants, but we are also market leader in battery storage. We are the largest, I would say, stake of being a EPC company who deploy storage. We have big share in US, Europe, Australia is big time, Africa. And in India also all these tenders, storage tenders, we are participating. So yeah, storage is a technology. And since we are again from the sector, we can say there are pluses and minuses of storage technology. You can look at storage not just in the form of, say, lithium ion at the moment, which is 96% market share, but let's also dwell on some more chemistries. And I think hydrogen is also one of the richest form of storing energy. And I think when we say about carbon neutrality, in reality, I don't want to now create a conflict here that how the lithium is produced, how much energy it sucks, and how much is basically it becomes a carbon neutral. But nevertheless, going forward, storage is one of the solutions, not the only solution. We can have a pump storage also as one of the, I would say, means of storing the energy. But the point here is, when you have all sort of, I would say, portfolio with you, many a times you need to have a balancing act. Something which is always there, which is to balance between the demand and supply, is something which Wärtsilä is expert into. And we are in discussion with the current government in Meghalaya. We are also discussing, in Tripura. We have already deployed some projects in Assam. We'll be in discussion with them. So our focus is Northeast, and we'll be doing, this sort of projects here in Northeastern area. And I think that's something which is very good. So I'll be also discussing about battery storage with the secretary very soon. And I think that's very important. So if you're relying on, say, a couple of sources of generation to balance it out, you need to have something as a mechanism to store it and use it when it is required. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to your point about lithium, I completely agree with you. I mean, we should not be completely relying on lithium, especially rare earth metals. Now, several lab scale research work is going on where they're looking at replacing it with sodium and more abundantly applicable material, also looking at capacitors for storage. So I think those kind of projects which currently exist at lab scale need to be scaled up and commercialized, and we should be seriously thinking about scaling them up. On that note, maybe I come to my second question, which is, given the local challenges, land ownership and fragmented geography, what are the practical projects that can be picked up, that can be executed in a reasonable time frame? Otherwise, things tend to keep dragging on.
Yeah, maybe I'll take the initiative here because exactly on the similar line we are discussing. We have already started discussion. So there was an idea of about some numbers I don't want to share here, but that was a large number. I said, let's not look at large number at one location, because then eventually what will happen if that is down, I would say our source of energy is down, your complete area is again in dark. So that reliability issue will again come, and you are into hilly terrain. So transmitting this power to the hilly areas, stormy season, bad weather can create problem for you. So why don't you look at it distributed generation? That's what, the point is. And then to find out a very large land parcel is difficult in this area, rather than to go, small pockets of land, where then you can involve the community also. You can basically, get engagement from them. And in fact, at least I'm proud to say that wherever we have done development, we have done it with the help of community. We are doing CSR along with the development. So whichever places we have done in, at least in India, it is also connected with CSR. And I think there are some witnesses also about our CSR activity, which we have done. Osama is here, so I think he can raise his hand and then object to my assessment. But nevertheless, so I think that's how we can engage community as well as have energy security.
Very nice. Comment.
Yeah, on this, basically this is last mile connectivity we are discussing. So from Government of India side, realizing that there are issues in transmission and distribution networks. So Government of India is implementing two schemes. One is North Eastern Region System Improvement Program, and another is comprehensive scheme for transmission and distribution development in Arunachal and Sikkim. So basically covering all the 8 states of NER. And here we have seen that after implementing this scheme also, there will be reliability and security issues will be there. Security of energy supply. Yeah, as my fellow panelists told that during the stormy weather or some wind season, lines got tripped and the supply is gone. And the time to restore the supply is sometime in days, not an hour. So we are again doing the studies that what can be done further and what system to be implemented. We are discussing on technology front also with different stakeholders so that this type of situations can be improved.
Thank you. Dr. Beda.
Before I go into this topic that you initiated, I'd like to make a comment on the previous topic about the storage. Let me make a prediction here today that, the future, the winner will be decided by the invention and progress so far as data storage and electricity storage is concerned. Electricity storage is very important because you know that this is one of the biggest limiting factors for even electric vehicles. Lithium ion has been the most advanced. There are more advanced technologies, but not in the market. But what you mentioned about capacitors, the ultra capacitors, is one area of research which people must, and maybe this can be included in renewable energy technology in the near future. That's one. And now, coming to the topic that you raised, I can't agree more with Zakir that, because of the land regime, we have a very primordial land revenue system here, and being a sixth schedule state, the land is owned by the community. So it becomes very difficult whenever we bring a big project, big ticket project. And currently, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy has the scheme of solar parks, which are about 20,000 megawatts. Now, who and where can I get that kind of a land? And the way this scheme, this project has been structured is that government facilitates providing land, and a private developer has to invest and set up the whole installation. The capex, opex, everything depends on the private developer, and he or she, the entity, has to regain that investment through the power purchasing agreement, which again becomes a limitation because it's the DISCOM on one side who wants to profit, who has to, because many times DISCOMs are also financially in a very difficult position. So these kind of projects are very, very unviable in Northeast. So what Zakir has been emphasizing time and again about standalone off-grid units, that, the way I see it, is the only solution so far as electricity connectivity, as you may call it. You mentioned about internet connectivity, and that is, I believe, was discussed in the previous session, but I am not sure whether it was ever mentioned that Assam Amitron is going to extend a cable from Cox's Bazar for the speed will be 10 gigabytes per second. Was it mentioned? Okay. So that particular cable we are extending to Assam in Borgaon, and that will be passing through Shillong. And in Shillong, we'll be having a network center, and this will basically enter Meghalaya in Tamabil, near Dauki. So this is going to really initiate the next level of IT revolution. We already have one IT park. We are coming up with a second one, and phase 3 and 4 are in a conceptual stage. And we have garnered a lot of interest on part of private investors. So if there are anyone here, you might want to approach the IT department. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Vashisth?
Yeah. So the model which our company has followed so far for entering into this area has been a joint venture model, because we need a local partner. Because as has been pointed out, accessing land and other resources, and doing getting administration support, you need someone locally present. So for now, the first project we have Numaligarh refineries. In the second one, we are in talks with NTPC. The third, we are in talks with many other public sector companies who are locally present here. So that is there. But when we talk about biorefinery projects, in that, biomass is actually fractionated into different components, the basic components, and each of these fractions can then later be converted into high-value products. So valorization of these fractions is important when we realize the true value of a biomass. So many R&D companies are there in Europe as well as in India. A lot of R&D projects are there which are at a small scale, but they need to be scaled up to support commercial projects like biorefineries. So some sort of small projects for valorizing lignin or hemicellulose or cellulose, which we are doing, can be taken up. From biomass point of view, there are very advanced harvesting techniques, which is followed in Nordics because they have been using wood for so many years. So for bamboo, some skilling projects can be taken up for the farmers, where these advanced techniques can be used. That can be a small project. Yeah, that's what I can think as of now. And then when we scale up and when we bring in more and more technologies to valorize these products, those projects are very well, we are very open to work along with various partners onto that.
Thank you.
I'll just respond. For your information, Siddharth, in the current financial year, Government of India has sanctioned 30 crores for Northeast region for under the National Bamboo Mission. So you might want to connect with your Assam Bamboo Mission, and you're very welcome to coordinate with us as well, because I'm heading the Meghalaya Bamboo Mission, and we will be coming up with about 20 plus nurseries. So I believe this will be able to provide planting material so that there is an assured biomass for your plant. It's one thing to set up a plant, but to get an assured biomass, that is the real challenge. You just have to put enzyme, rest, nature will take care of itself, but then how are you going to be assured about the feedstock? And I'm also told that you can have a tie-up with FCI so that the waste food grain, rice and paddy and wheat can also be diverted to, that is under the industrial policy. You might want to look into the Assam industrial policy. And we are also soon coming up with our own industrial policy. The reason why we are holding it back, we want to align it with the Northeastern Industrial Development Scheme, which is coming up anytime soon. And the ethanol policy will also be part of that. So I believe this will help in stimulating growth in the industrial sector.
Thank you. Apologies, Ms. Ansuya, you got completely dropped off.
I understand.
Coming back to you, what are your thoughts on tangible projects related to climate change and digital transformation?
Well, thank you so much. I'm thoroughly enjoying the entire discussion. But I think I'll pick up two important words. One, of course, digital transition. And the second one is community. Uh, well, as a researcher based in Kolkata, one of the important research mandates is India's northeastern region. And we have been working extensively on different aspects related to related to connectivity, keeping the fact in mind that these geostrategic region, it is sharing borders, international borders with India's neighbors like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, China. And my focus will be on the BBIN region, as we all know that it's a connected space. That's Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. And against the backdrop of this session's discussion, I would like to flag certain points related to disaster risk management and importance of cross-border community-based disaster risk resilience, considering India's Northeast as a connected state. Because I'm always thinking disconnected means from international relations perspective because I belong to the discipline of international relations. And I intend to see disaster management through the lens of international relations cooperative mechanism. In fact, when we look at disaster, then it's very important to understand the notion of disaster, which actually occurs repeatedly, instantaneously, and indiscriminately, and wipe out years of development in a fraction of time. In fact, a cross-country index of loss and damages has found India to be the seventh most affected country by climate change. And in the year exclusively in 2019 alone, economic losses from extreme weather events were what USD 68, roughly around 69 million USD. Well, repeated experiences have shown that people, the community, the society, and of course the government can reduce the risk by preparedness. And the northeastern region of India, comprising of 8 states with a combined population of over 45 million, is characterized by the proximity to the eastern Himalayas, the region's geoecological, fragility, the presence of large riverine areas, river basins, and the rapidly depleting, green cover make it especially vulnerable to a broad spectrum of climate risks. Among the primary manifestations of climate change in the region are the increasing volatility of annual and seasonal rainfall, and also the rise in annual mean temperature. And we all know that we can divide all these kind of disasters into several categories like hydrometeorological disasters, geophysical disasters, social issues induced, disasters cutting across frequent floods, you know, and and also the landslides, the earthquake vulnerability, forest fires, and also health hazards, and so on. So, considering the regular periodicity and gravity of such disasters, like I have already specified, floods, landslides, cyclones, storms, earthquakes, and so on. I think in these northeastern region, appropriate measures need to be adopted and continually refined for management and mitigation of consequences. You know, Observer Research Foundation, my institution, in collaboration with PwC, we have studied, one project, and it has been published in this year, entitled Climate Community Cooperation, an Indian approach to adaptation in the global south. It shows that of all states, actually, this, within northeastern region, specifically Assam and Meghalaya, they attract our attention most, as both states are part of the Indian Himalayan region and also lie squarely within the Brahmaputra and Barak River basin. Notwithstanding the difference in their sizes and the numbers and density of their populations, both states actually share similar climate and disaster risk profiles, and are equally at threat from externalities such as deforestation. You know, according to some other reports, it has been clear that so far as disaster index is concerned, Assam it indicates Assam ranks like seventh, I think, and Meghalaya is in the 12th rank in this particular indexing. So while we are dealing with flood, landslides, and of course soil erosion, I actually have forgotten this soil erosion. These three are very, very important and prevalent matters while we are dealing with disaster management. So now, in this situation, recovery needs assessments, which would be focused, and it should be focused on three key areas. First, assessment of damages and disruptions to critical issues, critical assets. Second, external assistance needs for early recovery, and third, ongoing emergency, response and assistance needs. While against this backdrop, what I would like to portray at this point is the need for across-border community management, and in this context, we must analyze the geo-environmental and geostrategic situation of India's northeast, as I have already specified that the region is within, at its central position within the within the BBIN setup, and if we zoom into this BBIN region, we see that there is a need to strengthen cross-border cooperation in the segment of disaster risk reduction, as all these discussed factors are transboundary in its nature. In this context, I feel community has a big role to play, and we have also keep it in our mind that all these countries have already adopted the Sunday framework and the policy of engaging communities in disaster risk reduction. In fact, in recent times, we can cite several examples where we have seen increasing engagement among the communities across borders to share early warning.
Sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, ma'am. I think we are running out of
Just,
time. Thank you so
yes,
much
just
for your
one.
thoughts on risk management and disaster management. Really point taken. And I think my session here ends, and I pass the baton to Flo.
Thank you so much, Shipra. So going into this more interactive and Q&A part of the session, again, we would like to invite all of you, like it is in the first session, has been done in the first session. If there's any questions, if there's any, anything you'd like to query the panel with, please note it down. We're gonna have our volunteers walking around with the basket, they're gonna bring it up to us. To start with, we have one representative from the Ministry of Environment and Forests, Mr. Navabhattacharjee. He's the chairman of the State Expert Appraisal Committee, Government of Meghalaya. Sir, if we could hear briefly your thoughts on, projects that can be done in the connectivity space.
Yeah, thank you for providing this opportunity. Welcome to our state and the region. You see, I would not go into the technical aspect. I would just like to highlight, number one, that climate change, which was considered as a variation in climate, that change is a reality. And when we talk of this phenomenon, we have heard all these jargons, these semantics of the developed nations not paying to the developing nations and that things of that sort. Now you see, when we talk of Northeast, Northeast has a very intrinsic environmental status which is different from the rest of the country. I'm not talking of the international parameters. And when we talk of Northeast, we need to include the Eastern Himalayas. You cannot, Northeast as an entity, yes, intrinsic, but it extends to the Eastern Himalayas, where the situation and the environment, the forest class, the forest status, everything is similar. And this dawned on me more so after the 2013 tragedy. I was in the Government of India committee to study, the 21-member committee to study the impact of the Uttarakhand disaster. And that opened my eyes. I've worked in Arunachal, I've worked in Mizoram. Meghalaya is my home state, born and brought up. And we were seeing that rest of the country and the Northeast and the Eastern Himalayas, like the developed nations, the developed states in our country is talking in terms of restitution, revival, and reclaiming. Whereas in the Northeast, which is virtually acting like the oxygen cylinder for the rest of the country, and COVID also has proved it, we now are talking of conserving what is there, our veritable treasure turf, the biodiversity hotspots. Now we come to the European Union can play a very pivotal role in this aspect, in having an holistic approach, Northeast up to Uttarakhand, how, like there are many other aspects. Today we are talking about the renewable energy. So this is one of the many factors. The footprints, now we have the afforestation, the mining, the salvaging of forest, fossil fuels, all these also has to be taken care of. So adaptation, we have to get our Northeast, both mitigation and adaptation to climate change has to go hand in hand. And in this aspect, we need to have this synergy between the Northeastern states and the Himalayan states. And here, renewables can play a very important role. Now, taking a cue from Mr. Beda, under my monitoring in 2005, I think many of you might have been in college and all.
Sir, I just request you to please come to the point. And
the point is that we evolve and develop a project, maybe on the pilot mode, how to have an integrated approach, even maybe include Bangladesh, because environment has no boundaries. So if we can take up this project, keeping even your renewables and other aspects in mind, and come out, actually do something on the ground instead of having many seminars and discussions and remaining confined within the meeting room. We need to move out to the field and start working in this aspect. So European Union can help us. We can formulate, we can prepare the model, how to approach it. We have a society for the Eastern Himalayan region. We have done a lot of research work on this, so we can take it forward and share, and so that some funding can come up for a pilot project.
Thank you, sir. I think this is why we are all here today. Before I'm taking a question, I'd also like to call up on, someone who is actually already implementing projects. Neil Kamat, the founder of Saramandala Foundation, is with us here today. And they are working in the connectivity space related to climate, renewable energy. Neil, if you can just, in 2-3 minutes, let us know, what are you doing with renewables, microgrids? How does it work on the ground, actually? 2-3 minutes.
Thanks, Flo. Yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm Neil and I'm representing Sauramandala Foundation. We're a non-profit that's been working in Meghalaya now for about 2.5 years. And continuing from what Dr. Beda said, we are one of the implementation partners working with GHE and Selco on the DRE implementation and energy efficient medical device installations across the health centers in Meghalaya. And continuing from what I think the sir said here, there needs to be a focus on demonstration of pilots. Any solutions that we are trying to implement or influence policy change should be a community-driven and citizen-first approach, and keeping in mind your long-term sustainability. Just to go over some of the projects that are in different stages of implementation across Meghalaya. One of them is the focus on micro and mini grids that are in our pilot stages right now. And our approach has been that government has the largest installed flat roofs across Meghalaya, and what we are trying to do is basically use them as large rooftop solar installations and trying to pilot peer-to-peer electricity trading, sort of setting up mini or microgrids. And we are in a 6-month test phase right now, and at some point we will approach the system and see how we can implement this across Meghalaya. We're sort of learning from the EU smart grid network, where you have country to country electricity trading that happens, and if there is surplus produced in one country, it is sort of transmitted across the other countries. That way there are no load pools, as we call it, or bottlenecks. That way there's a continuous distribution of electricity across the region. And we see the Northeast as a very similar interconnected network of similar terrain, difficult geographies. And I think also from what Mr. Zakir said, if we are able to set up a good network of interconnected micro or nano grids across the state, it would go a long way in terms of addressing the electricity connectivity challenges that the state is currently facing. And another point I wanted to bring up is how the EU Commission can support states in the Northeast region in setting up long-term debt instruments for this critical capex investments that we need in helping the states transition to a more renewable energy-driven electricity future, because that is something that is lacking. Working in the region now for 2 to 3 years now, we've seen that a lot of the funding goes towards mainland India, and a very small fraction of it is coming towards the Northeast region. And we are trying to actively advocate different donors to invest in the region. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
Okay, this is Vikramjit Maiti. I'm the CEO of the company called Spec Kankoya Energetic Fuel One. You can call us as Fuel One. And I know we have talked about a lot of problems we have in Northeast region. I'm being an engineer. I'm just going to talk about the solutions which I've been talking about. To start with, I think so. Mr. Bairwa will substantiate what I'm going to tell it, because as you said, hydro power plant, we only harnessed 7%. As far as natural gas is concerned, we have already harnessed only 14% what we have potential in Northeast. In bioenergy, we have only harnessed 5%, including when your plant comes to full operation. And now you will ask me what's the solutions. I'll talk about the storage also. There is a solution for storage, but I'll tell you differently. First of all, I would like to inform you all that our company has got the patent for converting the waste, that is municipal solid waste, to biomethanol, not ethanol, methanol. So we are substantiating it, and if you go to waste to energy website, you will see our company's name there, because we are the patent holder. Now, we have been talking to as much as 16 municipal corporations, including the Shillong Biorefinery. I've talked to Honorable Chief Minister, so they have been encouraging. So we're going to do it, and the good news is that we can arrange the funding for it also. Now, coming back to the storage issues which you have said, sir, because our company is into green hydrogen, biomethanol, which is bioenergy, ammonia, and many other products. We have a lot of other verticals. Apart from that, we have other vertical which do on the sewage treatment plant. We can recover as much as 90% of the water used in one time back to your system. So that will solve your problem. As far as the storage is concerned, being coming from the hydrocarbon background, the LNG is one of the best things, because to tell you the potential, Northeast has got almost 18% of the total natural gas what we have in India. And we have only harnessed 14% of it. So we have a lot of potential that hydrocarbons I can give you because we have two belts of natural gas called Assam belt, other is Assam Ankara fold belt. So both are having a potential. We are looking for investors, of course, from the central and state and from the European Union if you can. So there is a lot of potential to take out this natural gas, which can be converted to the LNG, and it can be stored, and that it can be exported anywhere else. Number two, as you know, hydrogen also can be compressed and kept in the cylinders. And we have tied up with one of the company in Korea. They have innovative ideas of how to store the hydrogen for a longer period into cylinders. That's the storage problem in terms of, because we are talking about energy. As far as the water hydro plant, sir, I would request you to go think on the micro turbines and portable micro turbines. There are micro turbines, hydro micro turbines, which is portable. So you can move it around, because now what is happening is, as you said correctly, a lot of our streams are drying up. So we can always, because nowadays everything is portable. Even our biomethanol plant, it's going to be a portable. If tomorrow there is a shortage of feedstock, it can be changed. You can change the location. As far as Assam Biorefinery is concerned, I'm a bit worried, because coming from my career started from Numaligarh Refinery. In 1994, I was there for 6 years. So basically 3,000 crores, putting a project with 3,000 crores plus investment, I don't know what is the break-even point when you get. Because your 13 clusters of for the bamboos, I think so it's not right. The whole calculation went wrong somewhere, which I don't support. Other part is putting up the bamboos to come to Shillong or Meghalaya. You have 13 clusters, and the maturity time for the bamboo is 4 years. So I'm not sure that how you're going to get other biomass, because we, as a biomethanol producer and technology providers, we can use your biomass much better way than effective way, because it is 1:10. Means 1,000 kg, 100 kg of biomass, we can convert it to 10 metric tons of biomethanol. So I think so we can give a solutions. In fact, I'll tell you, yesterday we have signed an MOU.
Please come to an end. I know
No,
it's important to celebrate closures of contracts, but
no,
it's
just
equally important to hear
I'm
voices.
telling you, this is because the patent is with us. So we encourage the whole world. In fact, yesterday we have signed a MOU with West Australia also. So we are opening up. So we can give, being a son of the soil from Northeast, I think so we have a lot of a bigger way to play the role, to make sure that we have a sustainable energy rather than going for fusion and nuclear energy. Please don't think about it, because we know what will happen. Yeah. No, yes, sir, even that is not economically viable. It's not commercially viable. So we have done on that. So we have to switch into green energy, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have the mic? Your voice is loud enough.
No, but I don't want to jump the queue. I mean, there's someone else on the list before.
Go ahead.
Right. Well, thank you. Manfred Auster again from Kolkata. I was wondering a little bit. We heard about a number of alternatives to classical carbon-based fuels. And I would also like to remind you that at the last COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, India and the European Union together tried to get into the final agreement a pledge to phase out all fossil fuels. I mean, in the previous years, it was about oil and gas, and or oil first, and then gas and coal. But India and the EU tried that together. Unfortunately, we failed. So the majority of states did not go along with that. Nevertheless, it seems that there is a willingness on the side of those two big entities to do that. With that in mind, I was wondering whether we really are looking forward to the future when we're discussing the possibility to invest in opening more fossil fuel pits in that case. So we heard from the Honorable Chief Minister yesterday that there is finally the go-ahead in Meghalaya. So I put a question mark, would like to put a question mark to that. I would also think that, Dr. Beda, you have a point with nuclear fusion. If we really would come to that point, that is certainly the form of energy that we are all striving for. It is a long way, though. I mean, we have been doing the research into that for more than 40, 50 years, and we will need something as a bridging technology. And so I hope that there are other things that we can use which are renewable and sustainable in both cases. And I would certainly make my pledge and my plea to say that is something where the EU and India and Meghalaya in particular should work together in finding those solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. We've briefly heard about hydrogen, green hydrogen. So now we have a hidden gem on our panel, which has been acting as a moderator, but actually has been doing a lot of work along the topic. So Shipra, do you feel that can be a game changer in the Northeast, the topic?
Thanks, Flo. Particularly with regards to green hydrogen, there's a lot of impetus, from very senior level to get it going. However, where things stand, there's still a lot of technological hurdle we need to cross. Although, corporate partners are very upbeat that in the next 5 years, we will see green hydrogen vehicles plying the road. I still feel there's a lot of hurdle to be crossed in terms of development stage, right? Not just in terms of production of hydrogen, but also storage, safety standards, transportation. It will come, but it's not the silver bullet we are all hoping for. So what we require is a mix of renewable energy. So for example, if you take mobility, transitioning to EVs, but then the primary source of energy should not be coal-generated power. It should be something else. Could be solar, could be hydrogen, could be something else. So, and looking at other hard-to-abate sectors also, where currently a lot of gray hydrogen is being used. That is a sector where immediately gray hydrogen can be replaced with green hydrogen, provided we are able to generate that level of capacity. And for that, however much I would like to believe that yes, in 5 years' time, we'll be there, but it will take us a few more years to get there.
Thanks a lot, Shipra. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Oh, we have a full, empty basket of questions. Okay, I'll take that up in a second. So in the meanwhile, I'd like to pose one more question to Dr. Beda, actually. We've heard from the Honorable Chief Minister, and I've also been living here for 3 years. Meghalaya has been a real champion in the implementation of externally aided projects. So we have, excuse the acronyms, but I think that's something, we have a lot here. We have MLAMP, we have CLAMP, we have Meghalaya here. So which are, can I say that, have a strong focus on agriculture, right? So how can connectivity play a role in this, specifically around renewable energies as well? Obviously there's a lot of connectivity already in there. There's market linkages, there's entrepreneurship. So can you shed a little bit light, how can connectivity, how can other topics, health, education, research come into play? Just for us to understand, okay, what is working, what can be done better? Where's some, scope for us to come in?
So to answer that, I'll take the help of pineapple. Meghalaya is one of the largest producers of pineapple, and the problem, the issue in agriculture is not productivity. It's about a sustained supply of the goods. Now there are so many food processing industries across Meghalaya in and around. But one of the major problems they face is this, that during season, they have the problem of plenty. So much so that they will have to say no. And the farmers might have to throw it, feed it to the pigs. That's the case here. In the lean season, the prices go very high, which becomes economically unviable for many of the entrepreneurs. Now, this is where solar, and again, we have the problem of electricity. We need warehouses, we need cold storages. How do we address that? We need a source of electricity. Again, we have the problem of hydroelectricity here. That's an unreliable source of energy. Again, it comes back to renewable energy. So under the schemes that Brother Flo has mentioned, we have, the government has supplied a significant number of solar cold storages to the farmer producing companies, FPOs, so as to ensure a good supply chain. That's one. Number two is road connectivity. Now, I come from Punjab, Khadar, and I've seen Atari border several times. Less of an officer, more of a protocol officer. Whenever friends come, take me to Atari, take me to Atari. So IAS, IPS officers, everybody's demand is take me to Wagah border. And coming from Northeast, I was amazed that we have fought so many wars with Pakistan, but thousands of trucks are waiting in Wagah border to cross over to do trade, So war is something, trade is entirely different. Back here, we have a very friendly nation, has advanced economically like anything. Bangladesh has, for your kind of information, has done pretty well economically. And we have Chittagong port, which was traditionally even, as big as Kolkata in the undivided India. As a crow flies, it's not even maybe 3 hours, maybe, nearer to any of the ports in India. Why we have not been able to capitalize on that? We have a friendly neighbor right across. We have such a long international boundary. 11 integrated checkposts are coming up. In Dauki, we have the Land Ports Authority is constructing one of the largest ICPs. But how is that going to be operationalized in the true sense? I mean, that is the million-dollar question that we need to ask ourselves.
Thanks a lot. To our corporate friends, we had a brief chat before this panel, and I tried to tickle some of your corporate secrets out of you. Both of them were saying, no, we can't give anything. But whatever you can give us, we would like to understand, what is your perspectives in the region? Not only, we do the first project now, we do the second project, but what is the long-term vision? Where do you see a lot of potential that you might not be able to access it now, but sometime down the line, and what do you need to be able to access it? And Zakir, we had a brief discussion also. You were telling you'd be able to tell us a little bit about, the different states. You see the different states in the Northeast and around, and some states have more potential in a specific sector. Some other states might have other potential. So if you can shed a little bit of a light in this, giving us concrete insights to get an understanding, what projects could be done where on a preferential basis.
Sure, I think maybe to begin with, where Mr. Beda talked about, the warehouses or storage which is required, cold storage which is required, it can be integrated, so with the solution which I'm talking about, the distributed, generation storage. It can be combined with a cold storage because the waste heat, we call it a CHP sort of model where the waste heat of this can be used for chilling the cold storage, and then you can very well use it power as well as chilling to serve the purpose. But yeah, there are states which we are working and we're keenly following up with them. One is Assam. Assam is much, I would say, developed out of the all 7 sisters. Rich in, I would say, again, hydrocarbon. Assam is, I would say, having large finds of gas. But there are exploration going on flow in this region, and we know some of these states, or rather the companies which are doing the exploration of natural gas. There is a potential available, and I think soon we will hear that the gas is natural gas. I'm still talking about the fossil fuel, but yes, it has to be mixed with future fuel, which I was talking about, hydrogen. And ma'am spoke about the limitation of technology. But I think a couple of things which have been done by the government of India is about removing the hurdle. And one of them is to transfer the energy from any part of the India to other part to basically generate hydrogen. So if you have a solar in Rajasthan, you can use electrolyzers in Meghalaya to produce hydrogen. So that's one part. I think on state-wise, we are looking at Mizoram, Meghalaya, Tripura, Assam. And I think these states where we had in past some bit of, I would say, projects, but those were not being fully utilized. So we are again coming back to these states to really see how they can, repurpose with the requirement of the area. Like in case of Meghalaya, it is the food processing, because large produce is, or rather the economy depends on the farming. So how we can, best repurpose, I would say, the main energy initiative, combining with the requirement of the area. I think that is something which we are looking at. So these are the states where we are, keenly working, and there are some dialogues already happening. One way to also remove a hurdle of doing projects is about PPP model. And I think now the mandate of Government of India is to go with PPP model. Earlier there was hesitation by the state governments or the public sector companies to basically get investment from the private companies. But I see now there is a sea change. Whenever I go, they talk about investment, and I think which is a very welcome, I would say, movement by these companies.
Thanks a lot. Siddharth?
Hello. Yeah, hi. So when we look at biorefinery projects, so I want to make a point to everyone that you need not look at it as a ethanol project or a product project. It should be looked at from the biomass point of view. So the philosophy which we follow is we look at the biomass and try and convert it into as many products as possible. So with our technology, We have been developing this for almost 25, 30 years now. We have been able to convert now more than 95% of the biomass into useful products. So ethanol is just one byproduct. So we have other products which can come out. Fuel is a product which India is net importer of, and mainly from China. Then acetic acid is a platform chemical, but when you think from a green acetic acid point of view, it has many more sustainable benefits. Lignin is one product which many companies, even including in India, have been working for years. Lignin is a byproduct of mainly a pulp industry. But with our lignin, it is sulfur free. It is now usable for many advanced applications, including batteries, as a battery material. And then we have been, the kind of research we have been able to do in EU, we get a lot of support and grants from the government, and we test these products out with the industry. The lignin has been tested as a replacement of carbon black in Michelin tires, in BMW plastics which they use in their cars. So those sort of ecosystem, R&D ecosystem, is something which I feel that it needs to be improved in India. There has to be a lot of support which needs to be given for these sort of projects. Solar, it took almost more than 15 years from where the price per unit were 15-20 rupees. Now they are 3 rupees, and it is still viable. Biorefining has just started. It will take its own time. We have a long way to go, so we need support, and that's why I feel that we have to work in a collaboration way, and collaboration has to be coming from government, academia, and industry together.
Can I just make a comment very quickly, Flo? And based on your point and your point on PPP model, right? So all the funding agencies, DST, DBT, etc. So they kind of now demand that 50% of funding for research R&D projects should come from the industry, and 50% they will, fund based on practical applications of projects, not just the lab scale research. And which is why these clusters have been seeded. So I'm heading the Delhi cluster. So I invite you, if you have any practical use cases, please get in touch and we can take it forward.
I'll just add here one. I've been to the office of PSA. We have used your Manthan platform, and we have put up a project. But when I got the responses from various universities, we put up a project for development of bioenzymes, because for our project we need to basically import enzymes. So the problem with these universities were lack of funding. So we can provide our part, but they have to be supported from the government.
Thanks a lot. So we've heard now a lot about energy generation. What is the right energy mix? What is the right source of energy? Sir, any more comments on the distribution network, on the on the whole topic that gets the electricity to people actually?
Yes. So regarding distribution network, especially in northeastern region, is we can say it's weak, and from Government of India side, we are providing assistance, several type of assistance in the form of different schemes like Uday or RDSS, or we are also funding from this Ministry of Donor, and many things. There, one special type of problem also we face, that road connectivity hampers our electricity connectivity. We have planned something, some substations in particular area, but roads are not proper to take our transformers to that place. So then again, several times we have to revise the rating of transformers, or revise the rating of even substations. So I think this one type of connectivity hampering another type of connectivity. So this issue also need to be handled.
Thanks. So I think Ruchika will solve this problem in panel 3 for you. And now, drawing to an end for this panel, I'd request everyone to, in 1 minute, to just give us a short summary of what you take out of this panel. What is the key messages, and in the end, if you can link it again to this connectivity aspect, that's very important. The other topics that we had mentioned: health, digital, research, transportation. I mean, you just did that. So 1 minute, key takeaways, key message that you'd like to bring across. And this time, I'd like to start with Ms. Anasua online, if she's still there.
Yes, thank you so much. And you know, my key takeaways are basically focusing again on community-based approach. I think in order to uh, in order to address all the concerns related to disaster risk management, risk reduction, I think it's very important to have keeping the strategic geo-environmental situation of northeastern states in consideration. We need to have cross-border water and climate governance in managing its climate risk. And of course, community is playing important role. In fact, there are plenty of examples where the communities across borders sharing early warning systems through their social media network. So we can use this network. So what we need to have is to decentralize the notion of information sharing, where the grassroots level communities can also play important role. So in terms of research and in terms of engagement, I think it's very important to understand their perspective and what's the gap between their perception and realities. And we can also engage community-based approach. We can also engage community networks. And also, while we are talking in terms of corporate social responsibilities, I think private sector can also play an important role in engaging communities in these segments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Zakir?
I think development can happen when we engage, the government, the people, and the corporate. I think that's the formula which we will be promoting here. And from the connectivity point of view, I think deployment of such cluster should be such that it shouldn't be. So all these states, specifically northern states, are, small. They're connected. So try to deploy the asset, in an area where you can still connect 2-3 states together with the transmission line, not very, I would say, high voltage transmission line coming from, very far area, but that can be done at a 33 kV level or 11 kV level. That still can be possible. And put up a asset where the feasibility of feedstock is there. Don't put the asset where there is no feedstock, where there is no accessibility. You can transmit the power with transmission line, but laying a road on that, I would say, path is difficult. But still you can put, transmission lines. I think that's how we should, look at it, this challenge of Northeast.
Thanks a lot. Mr. Bairwa?
Here, we should not only focus on Northeast. Because Northeast, again, if we see in isolation, it will be not sufficient. So this is well connected with the interstate system with rest of the country. And we have a strong transmission network. That's not an issue. Every state has at least one 400 kV level substation. So it is well connected. But for sustainability, we need to connect to our neighboring countries, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, which we are connected. But we have to strengthen our system so that the whole of the area is sustainable. And in fact, NER is the gateway to Southeast Asia. We have recently planned one high capacity transmission line with Myanmar, and it has been agreed. Implementation modalities are being finalized. So then this area will become an energy hub. Bhutan, Northeastern Power itself, and other region, and if the line from Bangladesh is also connected, then this will be a better connected system and also connected to Southeast Asia.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Very quickly, as I think most of the other people have also said before me, decentralized solutions are the key of grid decentralized solution. Second is we should look at a mixed bag of renewables, not just solar, but also utilizing biomass, MSW, second generation feedstock for production. And we should have plants that are able to use multi-feedstock capacity so that they don't run into issues of feed availability and seasonality. And third, most important point is wherever we have these plants, we should have an engagement with academia as well to improve the efficiency and bring the cost down.
Thank you. Dr. Beda?
Well, I've said whatever I wanted to say. From the global geopolitical perspective, the Northeast India, in the existing changing order of the world geopolitics and new players, Northeast region will become a focus for geopolitics in the coming years. And I will urge upon EU to invest as much as possible, engage the region, and try to improve the socioeconomic conditions here, which will be a very strategic investment for you in the years to come. Thanks.
Thank you. Siddharth?
So the good thing about this program is that we are all very forward-looking to all the solutions. We are flexible and everyone is open. So the thing is, I would like to add that these projects which we are doing are very good for, create a lot of impact. For example, almost 25 million euros of sourcing is done for the biomass annually. And in terms of climate change, almost 150,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent can be saved with these sort of plans. So I would request, whatever EU member states have plans, they can think about biorefining investments into this region. We have been very happy so far. Our experience has been really good, and we look forward to create more and more investments into this region.
Thanks a lot. So closing this session, I think has become very clear, and it's nothing new that this region has its very own challenges, obstacles, but also opportunities. And connecting to what Kong Mukim from the Shillong Times said this morning, and I think that also became clear from this panel discussion, we need very tailor-made solutions for a very unique but wonderful region. Thank you so much, everyone who has been in this panel with me. Kublai Shibun, Mitela, thank you.